Hi, happy knitters. This is Vivian from the Guilty Knitter podcast. I am coming to you from Montreal, Canada, where it is extremely gloomy out today, and it's been a very cold spring. We've had some nice days, and I think it is officially spring now. We can say that, but it's been pretty miserable a lot of times, and today's no exception. But so I'm still wearing my cowl, my shawls, and that's nice at least. I have to take some, I have to look at the bright side of these things. And it's nice to have you back. If you are a returning viewer, I really appreciate you coming back. And if you're a new viewer, well, welcome, and make yourself at home, pick up your knitting, grab a cup of tea maybe. I have a cup of tea in here, in my knitting fuel mug. And yeah, it's going to be a short-ish video today. I said that last time and it didn't turn out to be short at all, but I really am going to make it short this time. 30 minutes max, because I just don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to have to make it snappy. Yeah, it's been a really busy week at the orchestra. I'm a musician with the Montreal Symphony Orchestra. I play the trombone, and it's been a busy week. We did a Nordic festival, and if you don't know what that means, it means, well, you know what Nordic means, but in this context, it's music from the Nordic countries, which would be Finland, of course, Sweden, and Denmark, and Canada, actually. We did 3 different programs in this week, so that was a really heavy load for us, but it was good. It was a really good time. I really enjoyed the conductor. He was very efficient and really nice guy. John Scoresbad, I think he's Finnish actually. He was terrific. Anyway, but this is a knitting podcast, so I'm going to get on with my knitting. Oh, I wanted to tell you that, I think last time I mentioned it, I must have mentioned it, that I won a prize on the Celtic Cast-Ons Ravelry Group's knit along. It was like knit any garment, knit along. So I knitted a sweater. It was the Clark Pullover, and I won randomly. Of course, it's always random, but I was so pleased. I was really pleased. Anyway, this came in the mail. The Within magazine, and it's Jane Richmond and Shannon Cook who did all these beautiful patterns, and I tell you, there's some really, really nice ones in here. I really like this pullover. Let's see if I can show you one picture that kind of shows it. That looks like it's going to be super cozy, so I think I might make that one day. And what else? Oh, there's a nice hat pattern in here, a really nice scarf pattern, which would be a quick and easy knit. So I'm quite happy. Oh, this is another one, the Timber cardigan. I think that's going to be fun to do too. I think it's quite popular on Ravelry. So I'm excited. I'm glad I won something. That doesn't happen often. And what else was I going to mention? Anyway, I wanted to thank Kelly before, in case she's watching this, about that. It was really nice to get it, and it was lovely of her to offer it. And I wanted to also tell Kelly that I've been doing extremely well with my knitting from stash resolution. This is something I got on her bandwagon. She and Marcy from what's her podcast called? Hey Brownberry. They're both knitting from stash for most of this year, so I am trying to do the same, and it's not been very hard actually. I have a lot of stash and I'm not worried about it. It is tempting, believe me, to, because I watched the Espace Tricot videos, and I don't know if I mentioned, but they're 2 blocks from my house, so I do watch Lisa and Melissa, and they are always showing them these beautiful new yarns that they've got, and they're very close by. But I'm trying to resist, and it's not been that hard because I really do have some nice yarn in my stash that I'm eager to use up. So that's good. I know that the lighting's not great, but I hope that you can see well enough. It's just because it's so gray and gloomy out, and I don't have any artificial light on. So we'll see how it goes. All right, getting right into knitting. I want to show you my FO, which is my only other one, and it's my the socks that I was making for my son's girlfriend, Allison. Vanilla latte socks. I'll have to insert a picture because I had to give them to her because it was her birthday gift. If the light went down a little bit there, it's because I had my iPad on here and it just turned itself off. I'm not exactly a tech genius. Anyway, so so I gave her the socks and they turned out really well, I think. I was a little worried that they weren't each both the same size. Anyway, she did not complain, so that's good. So vanilla latte socks, I forget the name of the designer, but it'll be in the show notes. I used the Sockmaticians GSR German short row heel. It worked out pretty well. And in the Banana Legs colorway, so it'll be in this section and I'll show you a picture. And that's it. That's my only FO. I wish I could say that I finished one or both of my shawls that are on my needles. I'm knitting a Girl's Best Friend shawl, but it's been kind of hibernating because I wanted to concentrate on some other things. I want to put some work into my husband's very patient cardigan, the Cathedral Grove cardigan that I've been making for him. It's not going to make it. I'm not going to make it for his birthday, that's for sure. I show it to you. I wasn't actually going to mention it. Well, I was going to mention it. Yes, I was. Anyway, I'll show it to you, but it really doesn't look that much different from how it looked before, I don't think. I'm almost at the point where I can start the pockets, so I'm excited about that. It's always nice to get to a sort of, point where you're doing something different. And I do love this cardigan. So yeah, that's coming along, but it's far from being finished. But I can't, the problem, I've mentioned this before, it's a very sort of thick and rustic yarn, and it's a bulky project, and I find it really hard on my hands. I can't knit very much of it at a time, and today I'm feeling particularly kind of sore and tired, so I'm not working on much today in terms of knitting. Might take the day off. But anyway, yeah, another thing is I have a little swatch that I made of this cardigan, and I decided to block it in hot water. Like, I put it in hot water for 5 minutes, and now I've laid it out to dry, and I want to see if it changes a lot, because first I did block it before, but I blocked it in cool water. I'm thinking if I block it in hot water, I've heard that it really softens up this particular yarn. I might end up blocking the whole thing, like the stuff that the whole work in progress in hot water if there's no change in the size of my swatch, and it might make it easier for me to work. That's what I'm thinking. And also that means I'll have to do the same for the rest of the yarn. But I think that is not too much of a problem. So anyway, that's my plan. I'll let you know how that goes. I'll try and do it before the next podcast. So, oh yeah, I wanted to mention that we have a knit along going on our Ravelry page, and I'm really excited about it. I mean, there are a few people who have entered, and there's going to be a prize, maybe more than one. Well, I'll probably just do one prize with 2 or 3 little things in it. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. But I really wanted to, send it out there. If you have anything you want to knit for the summer, and you're already entering it in some other knit along, or you just have it on your needles, then feel free to come over and put it in there, and you might win a prize, and we can talk about each other's projects. And what's hilarious is that 3 of us are knitting this bag. It's called the Illeen Bag. And it's a very, very simple pattern, but I really like it. And all the projects come out really nicely. And I'm making it in the Garn Studio Drops linen cotton blend. It's about almost half and half of each, around half and half. And yeah, it's really a fun little project. At first I had trouble because I didn't know how this yarn over mesh was supposed to look, and it is supposed to be kind of diagonal like that. And so when I didn't realize how it was supposed to look, then I kept making mistakes and I kept screwing up the yarn overs. So I had to like frog back a couple of times, which was irritating, but I did it, and now I know how to read my knitting, which of course is very important. And I'm getting close to the end of the bag portion, the mesh portion. And once I'm done with that, I'll get the straps done, and hopefully it won't take long. Feel free to come over and join in the knit along. And my Ravelry group is called The Guilty Knitter. In fact, I am called The Guilty Knitter on Ravelry. And I also have an Instagram account, and you'll find me as Guilty Knitter. Yeah, because The Guilty Knitter was apparently already taken, so I had to take Guilty Knitter. I thought, well, I guess I'm not the only one. I mean, I've had people ask me, why do you call yourself The Guilty Knitter? And I thought, well, you know, it's one of those things where the name occurred to me and it just fit. It just seemed to fit. And even though I kept saying, is that too negative? I kept thinking, is that a negative sort of name? And it just kept on sticking to me, you know, like, you know, it just wouldn't go away like Velcro. So I thought, well, I guess that's it. That's who I am. And I know why, because I do feel somewhat guilty about spending so much time and money on my beautiful obsession. But it's okay. I mean, I know that I don't need to feel guilty about it, but well, you know, I guess it's like drilled into me by my mother not to waste time. I don't think I'm wasting time, but you know, that's how it goes. So yeah, what else have I got for you? Oh yeah, so I'm also working on the 3-color cashmere shawl, which I'm hiding. It's living in, as they say on these podcasts, living in my Guilty Knitter project bag. Isn't that fun? The Guilty Knitter has its own swag, believe it or not. I know, right? Crazy. Well, anyway, if you want to get any of it, it's it'll be on the like down bar of this YouTube video. And yeah, I've got a mug, and I've got a t-shirt, and I don't get any of this money, by the way. I mean, if you buy this stuff, the only person benefiting would be the person who did the artwork of that you know, my logo kind of thing, which was my niece, Jess Martin, and she's just a very talented artist. She's a tattoo artist living in Edmonton, but she does other stuff, obviously. So you go on this site called the Redbubble site, and you can order things with the Guilty Knitter logo on it, and tons of other things. So help yourself. Go for it. Okay, so I'm working on this 3-color cashmere shawl, and it's going okay. You know, it's not bad, but I'm at this last bit, which is the last really big section. Well, big. It's not going to be that big. It's the lace section. I think you can see that there. So I'm really happy to be closing in on the end of it, but there's supposed to be 3 repeats of this triangular lace pattern here. I may only do 2. I think that's quite possible, because I ran into some serious issues, because it's a little bit hard to read the chart. She gives you like 1 repeat of the lace pattern on the chart, which I guess is normal. But anyway, it's hard to explain, but the chart was a bit confusing to me. she did have the written out pattern as well, but I really prefer charts in general, so I was trying to figure out the chart. Anyway, so what I did end up doing, I got some help from, because I had really messed something up. So I went over to Espastrico because I could not figure it out, and Francoise, bless her heart, fixed it for me. And then I was back on track. But when I got home, I thought, I'm not sure it's right, because I couldn't figure out whether it lined up properly when I started doing the next, lace row. And anyway, what I did was, and this maybe help you if you ever have any trouble with these kind of charts, is I wrote the chart out, like I wrote it out sort of longer, so I have at least 2 repeats to look at, so I know how the repeat goes, together, kind of thing. Sometimes it's hard to picture those things. Anyway, so actually I wasn't the only one who had trouble with this. Like, I was reading other people's project pages on Ravelry, and there were a lot of people had difficulty with it. So well, that made me feel better. Anyway, so that helped me a lot. So when I could tell, okay, so this yarn over should be above this, knit 2 together or whatever it was. Anyway, it helped me. So I finally got back on track, and I am on track now. So I really only have probably like 4 more rows or something like that to do to finish 2 repeats. And once I'm done that, I'm going to seriously decide what to do. I may just go and finish it off with the picot bind off, which is going to take forever anyway. And then I'll be done, which would be amazing. So something off my needles would be fabulous, because all these projects I've taken on are such huge projects. So, I do 2 or 3 rows and I'm like, oh God, that was a lot. So like a girl's best friend, I won't even bother showing it to you because I haven't made much progress. It's beautiful. I love it. Definitely going to finish it, but I am not going to show it to you right now. Next time, maybe. Okay, so that was kind of my technique section for today. That was my helpful hint for lace. If you have trouble figuring out a chart, just maybe make it longer so you could see how the end of the one repeat fits into the beginning of the next one. Because, when you have to go back to the beginning of if you're reading from right to left, and then sometimes it's not easy to see how it's going to fit together on a long line. That's my helpful hint for you today. In terms of the podcast's review section, which will be right now, I only have one new podcast that I discovered this week, and it's called A Lovely Yarn. And the woman in charge of it is a homesteader. That sounds terrible. The host of this podcast is a homesteader from Pennsylvania, I think. And she seems very charming. I really liked her. She started her podcast only in January, so around the same time I did. She has a lot more subscribers, but I won't go into that. And she's a homeschooler and a homesteader. So it's kind of interesting. She has a very interesting take on things. And I think I always use the word interesting. I gotta find some new adjectives. I really enjoyed her projects and her take on her life. And just a nice podcast. I don't remember her name. Maybe I'll try to write it in underneath. Okay, so that was that. This is really going to be fast. I'm only 20 minutes, but I'm almost out of things to talk about. Well, not really. I mean, I can talk on for sure because, that's one reason I do a podcast, because no one interrupts me. I can just talk for 30 minutes, 50 minutes, and nobody's interrupting me. It's great. I feel like that's why most of us who do podcasts, I think there's one good reason to do them, because in this life, do you ever get to really express yourself completely? I don't think so. It's frustrating, because oftentimes people would jump in and say, oh yeah, that reminds me of la da 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 da, and then you're like, but I didn't finish my story. And so, anyway, this way, nobody can interrupt me. It's great. So I'm enjoying it, and I hope you'll come back and see what happens next time. I'm almost finished. I only have a couple more things to talk about. One is this book, which I just took out of the library. It's called Knitting Without Tears by Elizabeth Zimmerman. And I'm pretty sure that any knitter, you know, who's been knitting as long as I have, ought to have this in her library. So I'm probably going to buy it because it's really a great, it's entertaining, it's lots of information. There's lots of patterns in here, and like patterns where she explains how to adapt the patterns for whatever gauge you have. You know, she wants you to get a certain gauge for the patterns, but you can always adapt it if you want to use a different weight of yarn or whatever. She explains how to do it, and so there's some pretty basic sweater patterns in there that I'd really like to try. Yeah. Anyway, she's such a great humor. You know, she has such a wonderful sense of humor, and I've heard that about Elizabeth Zimmerman. So I'm very excited to finish this book. I'm not really that far into it yet. Maybe 20 or 30 pages. I just got it yesterday. So yeah, recommend highly. Probably in your library. If not, you'd probably get it on Amazon, I would imagine. Or maybe at the bookstore, but probably not. Yeah. My tea is really helping me to not get dry in the mouth. Okay, here is my acquisition portion. I bought this wonderful book called The West Highland Way by Kate Davies. It's just wonderful. I sort of on impulse bought it as she was offering this deal where she would send you a pattern every week, a new pattern, and they're all in this book, as well as stories about the West Highland Way, which is a walking trail through Scotland. And so there's all these places and that she got inspiration from to make these patterns. So yeah, there's some gorgeous things in here. And what was I thinking? I think the one thing I'd really like to do, but of course will take me forever, so it'll be, I don't know, couple of sweaters down from the top of my queue, but where is it? So as I was saying, I found the pattern I was looking for. This is isn't that great? I love it. It's called the Stronach, I think. Oh no, Strathendrick. Anyway, I have no idea what it means, but I think it's Gaelic. And it's it's a wonderful colorwork project that would be really fun. But it's really wide, so I'm not sure. Mona from Espastrico suggested that I could just do a smaller size, like the smallest size, and it might work, to be not quite so wide. So I might do that. Anyway, that's a lovely book. I recommend it highly. Now it's available, as soon as her series, I think it was once a month for 6 weeks or whatever, 8 weeks, you got a pattern. Once a week. Did I say once a month? Once a week. You got a pattern and these essays, and now I got them all in this book. So I'm really happy. So that was that. And did want to mention one other thing that I was thinking of putting in my queue for the spring into summer knit along. And it's this beautiful pattern, which I don't think I mentioned before, but maybe I did. It's called Athens by Shabui Knits, and isn't that pretty? Ugh. I know it's super simple, and what I should really do is go out and buy a top like this because it's going to take so much knitting. But having done the other one, that tunic, which I did 3 years ago or so, which is similar really, but it's different shapes, slightly different shape. but the same sort of length and no sleeves and made out of linen. I do get a lot of use out of it, and I'm proud of it. I love it. So I'm thinking, well, I could try doing this, but the problem is I don't have enough yarn. So I don't know whether to break my fast and buy another ball of yarn or two. I'll have to see. I do at least have the pattern already, which I could, so I don't have to buy the pattern. I'm also trying to cut down on buying patterns because, holy crap, I was looking at my my MasterCard bill for last year because we did our taxes, and I was thinking, oh, I spent so much money on patterns. And I always think, oh, it's only a few dollars, but man, it adds up. Man. So it's not just because I'm going to be cheap and I don't want to buy any more patterns. I want to look at the patterns I've already bought that I have not used yet. I'm trying not to buy like a similar thing. Like I could try using the same one that I already have, you know? So a little less waste, and that's always good. All right, well, we'll sign off, and I'll get Monty to say goodbye. He's probably, again, I'm waking him up so that he can say goodbye to you. But I also wanted to point out that he'd had his first home haircut by me. Well, I've done haircuts before, but I've never used a clipper on him before. It was a little dicey. I mean, the clipper, I bought it on Amazon for $35, so I don't know what I expected, but it was not a fantastic, it's not a fantastic clipper, but it sort of did the job. I used scissors a lot, and I watched YouTube videos. This is because I didn't want to take him into the groomers because he had like a panic attack the last time. And I think he bit one of the groomers. So I thought, nah, maybe we won't be doing that anymore. He's 12 years old. He's old. Poor little dude. But he came out of his tooth surgery well. He had 11 teeth extracted 2 weeks ago. I might have mentioned that in the last episode. But I don't know. Anyway, he's 11 teeth and he seems to be fine. I'm really happy how well he's done. And there you go. Right? He's looking at me funny. I think it's because it's time to go for a WALK. All right, well, happy knitting, everyone. And please join the knit along. Come and say hi to us over there on Ravelry and introduce yourself. Please, if you liked this video, press like, press subscribe, and also leave a comment if you feel like it. You just sometimes have to scroll down pretty far to get to the comment section, but it's there. So please feel free. And I'll see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye. The sun is shining, not a cloud in the sky. What a beautiful day. The birds are singing and so am I. What a beautiful day. I'd like to keep this moment for the rest of my life, but I know there'll always be a little toil and strife. What a beautiful day, such a beautiful day.